Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian. This week we talk about the 8 teams in the playoffs who have braved 82 games to get there and what it looks like after the first game in each series. We also talk about Super Deeker at the end. Ian gets that in there. We talk about Ian's dogs. So enjoy.
Hello, Jeff. It's morning time. You're having some cereal.
Yeah.
I just had a mandarin orange. Dave Chappelle's been punched in the head, and the NHL is way underway in the playoffs. Which games have you watched so far?
Okay, so good morning, Lord Bag. Just had some cereal, early start here in the desert. Okay, so I've watched. Let's go with all the parts of the Western games. I've seen parts of all of them, and watched a couple, obviously more than the others. And I saw all the Eastern games except for Washington and Florida. But I kind of feel that 7 of the first 8 games, I feel like I can have an opinion. But
That's
really, we could have an opinion regardless, right?
That's real impressive. First of all, I didn't know it started on Monday. I thought it started on Tuesday, so I was a little bit lost as it began. What was the first game I watched? I watched LA and Edmonton. Let's talk about that game first. Last week you said if Mike Smith floated around the back of the net and started playing the puck, there would be trouble, and that is how the game ended. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about being the most knowledgeable man in Edmonton?
Well, I'm a little bit happy and I'm a little bit sad.
Oh.
I'm happy that I actually gave some insight that I think is somewhat relevant, but I'm a little bit sad that it continues to keep happening. Mike Smith was lights out over the last month of the season. Edmonton has really been on a roll, but the kryptonite for Mike is playing the puck, and he plays the puck so well, and he's such a competitor that sometimes he gets a little bit overzealous. And
Nice word.
it's not a bad word, right? I think it's because I had I don't know what these are, oatmeal squares or something. Got my oatmeal, but here's my take on him. He's not the most, like, he's not like Carey Price in there where it's really smooth. Like, he's all over the place, but he stops the puck. He's had a great career. What's disappointing is that, in life, you should be learning from your mistakes. And, the question I had is the goaltender's job to stop the puck or to break the puck out. And with 5 minutes left in the game, he tried to play it up the middle. LA picked it off. He made an unbelievable save. But, then the circus was on and the fire drill was on in Edmonton zone. About 20 seconds later, it ended up in the net. So
my question for you, I'm gonna interrupt you. So why is his goal coach why are they not discussing that and showing him clips of that and saying, hey, this is where you get over your skis. We got to just calm this down. You are great at it, but we just got to make sure. And then on the other side, LA must be looking at tape and going, this is where he does this. This is where he does this. Be here when he's got the puck, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He plays the puck so well, you want him to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at a goalie that plays the puck well, you'll see them a lot try and keep on when, the other team's trying to dump it in. They'll try and get it up on the glass, keep it away from them. But unfortunately, the more Mike Smith handles the puck, I just think the more it plays into LA's opportunity to win the series. Now, without getting too far out in front, it's only one game.
It's over
now.
Edmonton they've shut up. They've shut down now. It's done.
I just think it's incredible to watch the intensity of these games. And in this series, you've got, Edmonton didn't have their best game, but give LA full marks for being in the game the way they were. And they're playing 4 rookie defensemen. I mean, if LA somehow is able to hang on and make this a long series or win it, boy, the springboard for that organization with those young D getting all that experience at the toughest time of the year to play is going to really bode well for them. But I just,
someone's getting a phone call.
Yeah, sorry about that. I guess I didn't turn my
Sorry,
my
ladies
phone
and
off,
gentlemen.
but
Jeff is
that's
getting
what
it's
happens.
very important.
Yes,
I'm gonna go around you. I'm gonna say that one win yesterday or the day before has springboarded this club to people must be concerned in that division, because here you go, 4 young defensemen, brand new, just kick it around, win a game. Now you definitely got some confidence coming in next year and the years afterwards. And Drew Doughty isn't there, and it's just gonna get better in LA.
Well, and let's not lose sight of the fact of who was at the other end, Jonathan Quick in that game, who was phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
And, Quickie took me back to the Stanley Cup years. And Quickie plays low in his net, like he covers the bottom of his net, unbelievable. So you're like, well, just put it up top, over top of him. But it's really hard to do. This guy is he's a master at his craft, multiple Stanley Cup winner. And Mike Smith,
35, is he 34, 35? How old
is he? He's getting up there in age. I mean, but
just the way his body moves still is impressive. Just try doing a couple of those moves that he does. It's just like, wow.
Yeah. No, LA full marks the other night. We talked about LA a little bit during the season, but Todd McClellan and the job they've done there is fantastic. And we'll move on to some of the other games in just a sec. Mike Smith, don't handle pucks so much. If you're going to handle it, throw it up the wall, throw it around the glass. Do not throw it up the middle. Philip Deneau, I'm going to tell you right now, I was like, I didn't see it.
When we were talking, we were watching the game. I was talking to while we were watching the game, and you just saying, just look how many he's winning every face-off. He's winning every face-off, and that could be trouble for Edmonton. But at the same time, I don't think Edmonton's down and out. I think it's game one. There's a lot of runway left on this series. So they got to pick up the pace. They get a little bit more physical on the young LAD.
And here's something I noticed from that series. Deneau, all world season, and game one, he was amazing. He's really kept going from last year in the playoffs with Montreal. But if you're watching that series, 2 keys, every D-zone draw, Kopitar and Deneau are usually on, unless it's an icing and they can't make the line change. Plus, both of them are playing power play and penalty kill and a regular shift. So Kopi's a monster of a man. Deneau's a big guy too, a little more slight. But as the series goes on, you got to make those two earn their ice. And if they're going to play 22 to 24 minutes a night as forwards, it's going to be really tough. But full marks to LA, they went in, got the game they needed, and now they're kind of playing with the house's money. We'll see how this goes.
And still a highlight goal from the other side. Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid picks up the puck, skates through everybody, and just pops it in. It was just like so relaxing. Everybody just kind of fell. Oh, I'm gonna hit you. Oh, and then he just skated by everybody. It was just crazy. The way some guys do that, it's just sickening.
Well, McCarr does it, McDavid does it, McKinnon can do it. But don't you find, like, when he grabs the puck like that, everybody on both teams and in the building is just watching him.
Yeah, everybody.
Like his team's watching him. They're like, well, we're not sure what to do because he's going so fast. And the
what you doing, Connor?
They're like, oh, they're like, like, you could just see the D, like they're panicking. And he ended up shooting the puck right around the hash marks. And there was a young LAD that was like, you know what do I do now? And so the thing is he
for
does
Edmonton
stuff
to win,
like
they need
that.
more of that. They need more of that.
It's the ultimate team game, and you need your superstars to perform at a high level. But again, that was an individual effort.
I don't mean
he's
like
capable of.
I don't mean Connor McDavid scoring like that. I mean getting the young D caught with their deer in the headlights. That's what they need to win, right?
Well, he's so good at accelerating with the puck out of the neutral zone or even his zone, and there's no way those D can get up and close that gap and then get going fast enough backwards. So you end up just backing right onto your goalie basically and hoping for the best. So that you really got to have your forwards kind of try and cut his ice away, cut him down earlier. As we saw the other night, when he gets going, it's almost impossible to do.
Yeah, a little scrummy, not too much violence in that game, just a little scrummy. But Los Angeles saying to Edmonton, "We're not scared of you. We're not going down from you." Let's move on to Toronto, Tampa, battle of the exact same jerseys.
Well, whose jerseys are nicer? That should be pretty easy.
Wow, Toronto's.
Yeah, original 6 jerseys are always the best jerseys.
Doesn't matter if you like them or hate them, you got to love that jersey.
Yeah.
It's simple, nice maple leaf on there, and then a tear falling off it because they never win.
Did you know? That's funny, by the way, but I'll forget this if I don't say it. Do you realize that 55 years ago to the day of Monday night, and by the way, may the 4th be with you.
Oh,
may the 4th be with you. Kind of a schizo thought pattern today, but I had 2 things.
May the 4th.
May the 4th be with you.
You were all over.
Oh, yeah. We're just
55 years to go today. The 4th be with you.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I got to get that in there before I forget it. But 55 years ago on Monday, when this whole thing started, was the last time the Toronto Maple Leafs hoisted and won the Stanley Cup. So what's that tell you, Mr. Bag, Lord Bag? It tells you that they're playing too far into the spring and the summer. We got to get this playoff thing going a little earlier, but Toronto came with a huge attitude, and they basically were the bully in that game. And normally everyone's worried about how tough Toronto is. They were so engaged. They made Tampa Bay look very sluggish and slow. Now, these are the 2-time champs. Yeah, you could tell, like, they were like, wow, we weren't expecting this.
Off his game completely.
Yeah. So, but they, it's Tampa. Let's see where this series goes. I mean, if Toronto can get out in front of them and bootlick them again, tonight, which is May the 4th, be with you. They go down to Tampa, steal one. Toronto's best hope is to try and get this thing done as quick as they can. But the longer it goes, you got to think that Tampa's going to start to find their game, and it's going to be really tough to take them out. But you know what? If Toronto's ever going to get to the next round, they're going to have to take out the champions to do it. And they sure looked good the other night.
Which team that lost on Monday wins tonight? And then the headline is the Empire Strikes Back.
I think the team that wins tonight is Edmonton.
And that'll be the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. I think Edmonton wins. Toronto, I don't think there's any surprise there. I just think they just seem to have that kind of look in their eye. But this is where Tampa's got to get their experience going, rely on their experience, and start to put some pressure on the Toronto defense, which looks really good, but also start to put some pressure on Jack Campbell and see if he can outplay Vasilevsky like he did the other night. Then things look really good for Toronto. But they got to start getting scrums. They just look sluggish and way slower than Toronto. I think Toronto's the fastest team in the league.
Yeah, I think the big thing that I noticed for Toronto was the defense, and that's got to be, and I'm blanking on his name. He's an Italian dessert. He came from Seattle. I think this is where they really needed him on that defense. Who am I blanking? I played for Calgary. Was there Giordano Pizza? You work your mind, I'll work my mind.
Oh my God. I'm trying to just eat my cereal here as quiet as I can, but I was listening to you kind of go through it, and you're like, that guy, did you call him the Italian guy or something?
I called him the Italian dessert.
That Italian dessert. The guy from the boot down in Italy there, like Giordano, like.
But he has definitely changed that defensive end, put some sort of confidence into them. And I think he was the steal of the trade deadline.
He is, but here's 2 players that I think are phenomenal and going to make a big difference for Toronto going forward: Engvall and Mikheyev. Okay,
Bill Engvall coming in, showing people their sign.
Yep. Hey, those 2. Mikheyev's probably the fastest guy in the league, or as fast as anybody in the league, and Engvall is really fast too. Both big, long, rangy guys. Depth guys that had huge games the other night for Toronto, and we're right in the middle of the thick of things. And I don't know if Tampa Bay, you we look at the other three teams that were in the Final Four last year, and we talked about them, and they didn't even make the playoffs. I'm really interested to see if Tampa Bay is just fatigued or just had an off night. We'll see.
I think they're a little bit of both, to be honest with you. How much coaching goes into the first game?
Well, there's a ton of pre-scouting, right? These guys know each other really well.
Right.
I mean, they didn't play each other last year, but they saw each other enough this year. They know their tendencies. It's like, you know, when you see something new on a power play, you're like, oh, okay, we didn't expect that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, for example, just to give like Ovechkin, everybody knows where he's going to be in the power play. Everybody knows what Washington wants to do. It's the same with Toronto. They know where Matthews is going to be. They know where Marner's going to be, or Nylander, whatever. When they start moving around, they throw a curveball at you, then they have to readjust. But for the most part, there's a lot of video on the PK and the power play, and you know, maybe what, you know, how the goalie handles the puck, for example, which D. Like there's no shortage of video on these players and how you want to attack their weaknesses. But sometimes, you know, adrenaline or whatever it is, your plan isn't as good as their plan. And Toronto's plan the other night was to go and punch Tampa Bay in the face, and they did that, and Tampa Bay never recovered.
Yeah. You brought Ovi, so let's move on to Washington and Florida. Even though that was Tuesday night, they surprised the Panthers big time. Panthers just thought they were walking into the next game, but it is a new beginning, and they were shocked and surprised. You know who scored a nice goal was Bennett. Just walked over the blue line and just cracked one. You see that one?
Yeah, well, I have Bennett in my playoff pool, and don't ask me
you.
why I put him in there, but I just really like the way he plays. And for Florida to have any success in the playoffs, Bennett is going to have to be a part of it. Once again, you can't have a band full of lead singers. You need to have some backup singers. If someone like electric guitar, bass player, drummer, and he fills in. He might not be your lead singer, but he's a great backup singer, and he can play all the other instruments. He brings a lot to the party. So if for Florida, yeah, it didn't look good the other night. They were up 2-1, kind of fell asleep. Washington's greasy, right? Well, I saw them a couple weeks ago in Vegas. They went with Vanacek in net last night. Ovi, you know, Tom Wilson's just a monster out there, but he got hurt, and Carlson got hurt, their top defenseman. So if those two can't play in game 2, it bodes well for Florida. But
Florida's got to pick up the pace.
They got to. And here's a team that's got all kinds of experience, and they got Ovi. So look out for Washington. I really liked what I saw the other night when they were here against Vegas. Vegas turned the screws on them in the third period and got them. But you know what? They're a pretty structured team. They can strike fast, as they showed the other night. They were down 2-1 going into the third, and they were able to get 2 goals pretty quickly. And then they scored an empty netter. So Washington, I don't know. Like, I look at the East and I go, there wouldn't be a team that would really surprise me that came out of there. Now, you'd expect Florida to take out Washington, and you'd probably expect Carolina to take out Boston.
I thought Carolina made Boston look old.
Yeah, but after that, but even if those teams found a way to get back, well, they're only down 1 game, but let's just say they get back in the series and get going, you wouldn't be overly surprised if they took those teams out in 6 or 7 games. Out west, it's a little bit of a different story, but Washington looks really good, but they're kind of sniper and assassin all in one there. And Tom Wilson, he went out the other night, didn't return. And then John Carlson going out really affects them, but they do have some great veterans there.
Yeah, they have some great veterans, and that series is going 7. I don't expect it to go less than 7. Well, you brought up Boston and Carolina. Carolina was a 5-1. Was that the score? 5-1? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was either 5-0 or 5. Yeah, it was 5-1, I think, because the 5-0 game wasn't that
Toronto.
That was Toronto. So my only take.
And who got a shutout? Our old friend Jack Campbell.
So, Jack Campbell.
May the 4th be with you.
We got to get him on the show more. But you know, I look at the Carolina game takes me back to when I saw them in Vegas early in the year. I was tired leaving the building. I felt like they were checking me all night too. They are relentless. And if you watch them pester the puck, they are all over you. And there's nothing worse in life than feeling your time and space getting squeezed.
Mhm.
And that's what happened to Boston. And just some of the plays Carolina makes were unreal. And Antti Ranta played his first ever career playoff game and looked phenomenal in net. Allmark, not as great at the other end. And sometimes you could say, well, what's that all about? I think it just speaks to the speed and the pace that Carolina plays with. They are relentless.
Yeah, Ranta did look good. If they can keep him healthy until Anderson gets back, because your concern is Ranta might get hurt because he gets hurt a lot, right?
Yeah.
So you got to keep him healthy. So it sucks. Some guys just don't stay healthy as other guys do. But you're right about Carolina just coming at you. You know what? Carolina reminds me of the advertisement for the shingles vaccine. Shingles don't care. You got Brad Marchment on your team. Shingles don't care.
No, they don't. I'll tell you, that's a team, they're not in the biggest market out there, but they don't get the pub, say at Toronto or the Rangers.
They don't care. You know why? Because Shingles don't care.
They don't care. They don't. You get a chance to watch Carolina? Watch the Shingles.
Watch the Shingles commercial. They should have this. They should be sponsored by Shingles. Shingles don't care.
When you get them, it's annoying, right?
Yeah.
And painful.
Yeah. It's annoying, painful, and they don't care. That is the Carolina Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay, so that's so we did the 3 games Monday night. What was the 4th game on Monday?
Okay, so we've covered Washington, Edmonton, Toronto, Tampa, and Boston. So we could go to St. Louis and Mini.
Oh, St. Louis and Mini.
There's not a lot to say about that. I think we talked about them the other night, and you've been saying it on St. Louis all year, but this is the difference in this team. In 2017, they could take the air out of the building and just stifle you. That's exactly what they did to Minnesota the other night, and their special teams are unbelievable. Their power play is lethal. David Perron with the hat trick, Ryan O'Reilly.
Hattie.
Yeah.
Also, they went with Husso in goal.
Yeah. Husso.
Esso. I don't think Binnington. I don't know if Binnington's going to be. I don't know what's going on. Binnington just isn't the guy that just wanted to prove himself anymore. And I think we talked about it on one episode. He's just not. He's not what he was, even though he's still good. It's a little bizarre. I watched him play, I think, the last game of the year, and I was just like, oh.
Well, do you guys like I'm talking to you like plural, like, hey everybody, hey. That's like Pearl right there. Still fired up. You just imitated Pearl. That was awesome. Here's the thing that people might or might not realize. Ville Husso was in the St. Louis Blues minor league organization, the minors, with Jordan Binnington when he came up, and they won it all a few years ago. So Binnington came up and Husso played. So now Husso's come up and decided that it's his net. And man, he looks good doing it. St. Louis is the team. They've got great leadership. It looks like they've done a really nice job putting that team together. But St. Louis is a team that when you come to the building, remind me of Carolina, you're not wondering or guessing what your job is. It's very clear what your job is in St. Louis. And Ruby's done such a good job there. They're back. I know last couple of years, it hasn't been real pretty there as far as getting bounced in the first round. Who knows? Minnie's got a great team there too. But St. Louis looks like they're playing with that calm, and they suffocated Minnie the other night, and Minnie just looked out of sorts. So we'll see if they can bounce back tonight. Not much to say about
Minnie the other night. It was nothing. There was just nothing to say.
I feel bad for Flower though, because here's a guy they bring in, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, Cam Talbot was 13-0-3 in his last 16 games or something. They're like, all of a sudden, like, oh my goodness. Now he's at another team that they're after one game in the playoffs. Tell you what, Flower made some great saves the other night, but St. Louis was moving the puck side to side, and Minnesota just got caught in the wash. And
they're just wave after wave after wave.
Yeah, they just couldn't get their swim trunks back on. They were down by their, you know what I mean? They just got rolled over, and they didn't quite know where they were. The swim trunks were floating beside them somewhere, and they just got washed. So
they look like they're on that fake wave machine, and they just got tipped off the boogie board, and they're trying to say, just tumbling over themselves. Yeah, it was. I expect that to go a little longer too. I don't know if that one will go 7.
You'd sure think it would. Those two teams are very, very similar. And I would have thought that I would have given the goaltending edge at the start of the series, and I still do, to Minnie. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's got to steal a game. He's got to steal a game from him. But just like somebody that we're moving on to New York right now. We're going New York, Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. I think he stopped 79 shots yesterday, Shesterkin. And
Shesterkin
the loss.
But you expected that kind of game from New York and Pittsburgh, so evenly matched. Mm-hmm. And the first round of the playoffs is usually the best round, because how do you play, how do you play 4 series of games like those guys did the other night? The big kicker is Crosby. Malkin gets the winner, stand in front of the net, that beautiful tip in the third overtime. Just great hockey. 2 teams that are really even. Shesterkin, he probably had to make the better of the saves, but between DeSmith and Louis Domingue, who came in, by the way, Louis Domingue came in the second overtime. He was the first goalie to ever come in an overtime, I believe, and win the game. So good for him. Like, we were sitting there watching, we're like, New York started throwing the puck at the net right away. It was like he was on a unicycle, but he made the saves, in there, and then he got comfortable. And it looked like it kind of motivated Pittsburgh a little bit to be like, hey, we got to help this guy out. Although both teams had chances. It's just really going to be a really good series, I think.
I heard one of the pundits say that Pittsburgh would have won even if they lost, because they were struggling with that team so much during the season. The fact that they got done what they got done would have given them the wind, the mindset, we can do this even if they had lost. So and I didn't know this. So the backup goaltender has to sit down the tunnel, so he can't even see the game. He's just sitting down the tunnel, and the referee has to come up and tell him, hey, you're in. And he thinks he's just being punked because he hasn't been playing in so long.
He's just getting chirped at by all those Rangers fans, and
and if he'd gone down, they would have gone to E-Bug. You know that, right?
Yeah, and the E-Bug guy, like Ray Ferraro was doing the color on the game. He's like, the most nervous guy in the building isn't any of the players. It's the emergency backup goaltender.
That's drunk.
Yeah. Hey, he's in the press room eating hot dogs and pizza. He's like, man, this is the best, full buffet. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're one shot away or one play away from going into the game.
What? Just a hot dog. What?
He's putting them in his bag to take him home later. I gotta have some to go.
I'm just trying to steal some sticks.
I think that if you lose like that, I think it's way tougher to lose like New York did than just lose like Tampa did the other night, where they just got beat in every part of the ice. New York did a lot of good things, and let's not forget, New York had a goal that would have won them the game waved off in overtime. So because of an goaltender interference call. So Domingue now goes in, and the fortunes are going to rest on him. So you got to feel that that's a little bit of an advantage. You got a guy that was your third string goaltender is going to be your starter in game 2, and against the guy that was
I didn't hear what the injury. What was the injury?
It looked like DeSmith pulled something in his right leg.
It wasn't cramps?
Well, if it was cramps, you would have thought they would have been able to get him back. They played for another hour or more at least. If
All
it's
right.
cramps, then he can come back in. But the goaltending is definitely still a strength of the Rangers. So if Domingue's got to play, it was a great story the other night. But that kind of shifts a little bit of the momentum and over towards the Rangers, I believe.
All right, we got a couple minutes left. We got to get to Predators, Avalanche. That game was just what everybody thought it would be. Lopsided.
Yeah. Can I tell you a quick story about that? So I had my car in my playoff pool, and I had to text it in to Michael, who's doing the playoff pool every year for us, for the families.
Skims off the
And
top.
somehow when I sent it in, I looked at it last time, I'm like, oh, McCarr's got 3 points in the first period. I was coming back from the rink working with the minor hockey, and I was listening on the radio. I was like, this is awesome. I've already got 3 points in the first period. And then I go and look what I sent to Michael, and McCarr's name isn't there. So I got, let's see here. I got McDavid and Draisaitl. I took Kaprizov. I took Bennett as a flyer. Probably not the smartest move when McCarr's on the bench. And then I also took Panarin. So how many is that? Is that 6? Yeah, that's 6, isn't it? Or
yeah,
there's probably one other one in there. But I feel like such a doofus because I just love McCarr.
Who'd you take instead of McCarr?
I don't know. Maybe Kaprizov or because I thought about Bennett as a dark horse. I'm like, because everybody's going to put the same people in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people are going to put those guys in here, or an Aho or someone like that. So I was like, you got to go off the board. So I basically just donated my money. But I send, and for people out there listening, I know there's millions of you. If you got a young hockey player, especially a defenseman, you show clips of Cale Makar to them. It's incredible. Again, last night, he turned on the Jets. He turned a play with nothing into a beautiful offensive goal. And he does it defensively all the time too. So anyways, I'm just telling you what a donkey I am for not checking to make sure he was there. Nashville in big trouble. They're going to have to play Ingram. It looks like their third string guy, who I thought played well the other night against Colorado. He's probably going to start tomorrow. They got to find a way to clog up the neutral zone and slow Colorado down.
It's just one of those series where you're just like, it's outmatched and you're just kind of like, okay, let's see how this goes. And you're not shocked by anything that goes the Avalanche way. And you're shocked by anything that happens good for the Predators. It's kind of why the that extra wild card spot, you wonder if it should just be a bye week for that number one team.
Well,
I know you're saying, but at the same time, it's just like sometimes it's
let's just wait and see what happens. But here's my take on them. The issue with Nashville is pace. They don't have a lot of pace, and Colorado's got guys like Logan O'Connor sat out the other night. Newhook sat out the other night. Newhook played 71 games this year for the Avalanche. O'Connor played 81.
Billy O'Connor.
O'Connor, I used to play with his dad, Miles. So I really cheer for the young fella. And his dad, Logan, was an unbelievable skater. Miles was an unbelievable skater. Logan's the boy. So this is the kind of depth that Colorado has sitting in the wings, and both those kids, Newhook and O'Connor, can fly. And so, I just look and I go, Nashville, to me, I really like the story. Obviously, not having Saros in there is a huge hole, but and we'll get to Dallas and Calgary in a second. But to me, the two wildcard teams in the West do not have a lot of pace. In the East, the two wildcard teams have way more pace, and Washington showed you the other night by beating Florida.
True. That's what screws my idea right there is Washington. What makes my idea good is and Dallas and Nashville. And Nashville's going into the Mile High City and probably going to be maybe a breath or two behind as well. Just not much to say about that. Not very exciting.
Yeah, let's just give it let's see what happens. You'd expect Colorado to come out and go to Nashville 0-2, but we need to see more out of Nashville. And the way that they're going to get back in the series is they're going to have to physically get there, which includes pace at times. They're going to have to slow the game down in the neutral zone, and they're going to have to kind of, you don't want to see it scrummed up and slowed down, but they're going to have to find and exact some kind of physical toll.
They're going to have to throw logs all over the ice. They're going to have to throw sand on, that's the only way.
Yep.
And the reason I want to move on, because I don't like talking bad about anybody that makes the playoffs. I think it's, it's great. I don't mind talking shit during the season, but once you get into the playoffs, I think it's more positive than negative. I think is the way you got to lean on it. So that's why I move away from that one, because it is so lopsided.
Well, like I said, let's just wait and see. It's only one game. Yeah.
Let's go to the last one. Let's go to Dallas, Calgary. Fun, little violent. People throwing around, people getting punched in the head. Just good old fashioned. There's going to be a hockey game. Stomping Tom comes flying out, and the lowest score in the playoffs so far, 1-0.
Mm-hmm. Did you know that Dallas was the only team to make it to the playoffs? And we talked about this maybe last week or the week before with plus-minus goal differential of minus. Vancouver and Vegas both had plus goals, more goals scored than against. So right. Dallas can't score. They have no depth, and they don't have a lot of pace. They've got some real cagey guys. Ottinger played really well. I think and Calgary's looking for a fight. Like, Calgary's like, whatever way you want to do it, and we're going to grind in the ice. You got Lucic playing. Richie played last night. Lucic's had a great year. Good. Branson's been unbelievable on the back end, and Zadorov. And you know what? They're like, hey, who's your Huckleberry? That's how Calgary wants to play it. Dallas engaged them a little bit last night, but they're going to have a tough time scoring against Calgary. There's a couple guys to watch in this series. Number one is number 4, Heiskanen from Dallas. I mean, they were trying to run through the end of the boards last night. Kid just bounces up, keeps going. He's phenomenal, a terrific player. The other guy to watch for Dallas is going to be Ottinger, the goalie. He played really well last night. If he can kind of, if they can they're trying to put Calgary to sleep, 1-0 game, kind of a sleepy game. If they can put Calgary to sleep and Ottinger can make the saves and they can shoot a puck off somebody and bounce a few in on Markstrom, then there's a chance that they could prolong the series a bit. But again, I think pace is a problem and depth scoring is a problem for Dallas against Calgary, who Calgary's awesome, but I don't think they're the fastest team in the league either. But what Calgary can do if they get the lead on you is they can turn the tables and make you play the way they want to play. And they got some guys that can put the puck in the net.
The only way to put it is Dallas is in third gear doing about 48 miles an hour, and suddenly there's a 40% incline mountain of a mile long in front of them. It's not that they can't make it. It's just going to be a tough burn, and you're going to smell some smoke. So good for them. Good for them for getting in and give it a shot, boys. Give it a shot. And I think it's exciting that Calgary's in the playoffs and looking to go far, so they got to do it. So good for them. Yeah.
No, and I agree with what you're saying. Like, it's tough to pick on these guys. The 82 games, they found a way, all these teams, to get in. Yeah, you know what? You're going to see some teams get exposed. That's just the way life is, right? I mean, I think there's 16 teams to get in. There's probably 8, maybe 9, 10 max that I think you could honestly say, okay, you could say anybody could make it, but I think you got 8 to 10 teams that are going to do it, and with a real legitimate shot. Calgary's one of those teams. There's no question about it.
Yeah,
this is not. It's for real there. But if you take your foot off the gas pedal for 1 minute, and we saw that in Edmonton the other night, there was nothing going on. That game was 3-3. It was a good hockey game. The puck gets thrown up the middle. It's a fire drill. Ends up in the back of your net. so your mistakes are magnified this time of year. The team that makes the fewest looks to be the team that'll probably go the farthest.
That is the end of Orange Slices. And by the way, congratulations to all those teams that didn't make it. Unlike the two guys that you're going golfing with that just shanked it into the woods and now get to golf.
You know, it's great. You said that. I'm going golfing today with two guys that coach on teams that didn't make it.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was saying.
Hey, you got to tell everybody what you said the other night in our, I don't know if you want to tell them, but you got to talk about Super Deeker first.
Super Deeker. I forgot to bring up Super Deeker. There's teams that are on the outside that didn't make it into the playoffs. Those teams do not have the stick handling skills that the other teams have because the other teams use a puck training system for hockey called Super Deeker. That's right. If you want to make it into the playoffs, try Super Deeker. Get your kid going on it today. It's amazing technology. You get a puck, you get a little piece of fiberglass, you get something that plugs into the wall, and boom, next thing you know, you're basically playing a video game where you actually have to move a little bit, and you're getting some exercise in, and you're learning how to stick handle. And then when the child goes to bed, mom and dad can play a drinking game with the Super Deeker when the friends come over. It's just fun for the whole family. Superdeeker.com. Use the code SLICES and get yourself a discount. Woo! Super Deeker, proud sponsor of Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff.
That was good. And the other thing about it is when they're using Super Deeker, not only are they getting better, they're getting something out of it. They're not on their phone.
They're not on their phone. Put it in the car. Make them play Super Deeker while they're driving.
Yeah.
Do you have any shout outs this week?
Yeah, I think I'll take a crack at it here. I again, you know what? We sat there and I had my cereal and I had time to think about it. And I'm going to give a shout out to my old buddy, Dougie Huda, my old D partner. I probably shouted out to Hoods before. He had the greatest line to me when they played Toronto the other night. He goes, Sharps, we're going to try and keep them to under 11. So, you know what? Love Hoods. He's a great guy. He's not returning to Detroit. He played in Detroit for a long time and he would coach there for the last 6 years and he will land on his feet somewhere else. But I've known Hoods since I've been 16 years old and he is a super dude and a great coach. And so I want to shout out to him and all the good work he's done over the years trying to help Detroit get themselves back on the tracks.
He's going to end up someplace, but he needs a year off after the 6 years he just had in Detroit. He needs to refresh his batteries a little bit. Good guy, good family. Yeah, good for him. Who do I have a shout out for? I'm going to give a shout out to Wayne Deacon, who's been staying with us for a couple of days. He's now off to Mexico, but I took off to Detroit and Carrie Ann was at a wedding in Oklahoma. And he walked all three of these dick dogs that we have, and he had to put a band on Henry because he's peeing all over the place. So big shout out to to Wayne Deacon for taking care of our dogs. And I want to say this: I had to take Henry into the doctor the other day. He was having some problems, and you know when you it's weird when you take a dog into the vet. I tell them what's going on, and then they come in and they child check it out. And then they go, well, we noticed he's got a bad tooth. And I'm like, and I just stopped her in her tracks. I'm like, I'm not concerned about the tooth. I'm concerned about the blood shooting out his ass. That's what I need. And she's like, oh, I just wanted to tell you that things. I'm like, well, I don't care. I don't know if you've seen our wall at home, but I have to paint it because there's blood everywhere. Do you mind taking care of that? And she's like, oh, sir. I'm like,
well, we have a dental special through the end of May.
That's exactly what was said.
Oh,
that is exactly what was said. I'm like, well, we'll be
Do we
back
have the same vet? We have the same vet. Hey, you know what? You know, you should shout out to Wayne because when I've never had the pleasure yet of having to walk all three dogs, but I did walk Lou and Pearl. And one of the first times I was down with Ian and Carrie Ann, I took them out. I'm like, hey, Ian was somewhere and Carrie Ann was on the couch, I think. And I was like, hey, I'll take the dogs out. Sorry, Cab. Didn't mean to take you down, but whatever.
Just snoring on the couch.
She was watching Dateline or one of those murder shows that all you gals watch. And so I'm like, I'm going to take the dogs out. So I'm like, yeah, no problem. And so Lou gets all fired up. We're out in the sand where we're not supposed to be, but it's okay because it's nighttime. No one can see us. And then Pearl starts chasing him, and I get him tangled up, and I lose leash. But he doesn't know yet. He's off his leash. But he's getting further and further. And I'm like, hey, Lou, come on over, Lou. And Pearl's all fired up. And then the next thing Lou realizes is he's free. And he takes off. And I'm running towards, I guess, north on the beach there towards, he's going to downtown Long Beach. Yeah. And I'm running. I'm like, Lou. And I'm just like sprinting. I felt like saying, Stella. And I'm trying to catch Lou, and I'm running as fast as I can. But Pearl, she can only run so fast. So I'm like, oh my God. The first time I take Ian and Carrie Ann's dogs out for a walk, I lose one of them. So, and he's a black dog on a black night. I cannot see him. So I'm like, Lou, and I'm calling him. So finally I'm like, well, I'm screwed. I got to go back and tell Ian and Carrie Ann I lost their dog. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, vroom, he comes around again and he starts going at Pearl. So the trick was, after that, I never left the house without treats. That's the moral of that story. But anyways, I came back.
My dogs, keep hamburger in your pocket. That's all.
Oh my God. I must have sweated more than I ever did playing any hockey game of my career, trying to chase that dog down.
He's done that to me a couple times. One time I took him out and he was gone for about half an hour. So I was like, I got to take Pearl back and drop her off. And I come back with just Pearl, and Carrie Ann's like, where's Lou? And I'm like, I lost him. I got to go look for him. And I'm listening. She's like, you fucking lost a dog. Right. And I'm like, oh God. I open the door. There's Lou standing at the door. I'm like,
he's unbelievable. So Wayne was the original shout out. Congrats, Wayne, because you're a better man than I am. I couldn't handle the 2, never mind 3 with old Henry doing his thing. So, anyway. All right. Well, I don't have anything else. Do you?
Nope. Loved all. Oh, I know. I do have one thing. We will. I did a little update yesterday, and we'll be doing updates just on our phones and putting them out on social media. So Jeff will talk about some games, and I'll talk about some games. We'll do it individually. So look for those every night on Enjoying Orange Slices, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, my TikTok. We'll put them up there as well. Look for those, and hopefully your team wins, whoever you are watching the show. We thank you. Loved all. Hey everybody, that was a great show. Jeff's not here because he's out golfing with 2 coaches that didn't make it into the playoffs. Make sure you follow us on our social media, Enjoying Orange Slices, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We'll be posting clips from us as the games go on. So we'll be reviewing the games. So make sure you follow us. Love to all. Hope you guys all have a good week. Thanks for putting up with us.